Hello, everyone. It's good to be back here at Freight and Salvage after a while not being here at Ollie. I love teaching at Ollie, and I've been teaching here since 2004, um, off and on. And all of these courses sound so interesting, like others. I would love to take all of them. But mine is somewhat of a downer, I would say. Not as fun. Teaching about the global refugee crisis and its causes. I had a grant from the Turkish National Science Foundation last summer and spent the summer in Turkey, ostensibly, and I actually did this, but to interview refugees and get some demographic information on them with colleagues from Yashar University. And I found myself in a double role as a researcher and an accidental volunteer with refugees, because it was the summer, the time when the crisis was exploding, and I was in Izmir, Turkey, where refugees generally come from Syria to negotiate with their smugglers and get on a taxi at night and go down to the beach and try to get to Greece. And so in interviewing these refugees, we found that we couldn't really just take an objective academic position, but we ended up bringing them supplies that they needed: diapers, feminine hygiene products, children's clothes, blankets. And so I played this double role, and it was life-changing, I would say. And that's why I wanted to teach this course. How many of you have been following the refugee crisis? Everyone. You can't avoid it. I won't take a current events view, although things are changing rapidly. My syllabus has material to read, which can be found all online. And I have an additional website for the course, as I'm developing for UC Berkeley a webpage on research resources on refugees. And so if you go to my website, bev.berkeley.edu, which is pretty easy, bev.berkeley.edu, you will find everything you need about this course and resources and more, actually. So I will spend the first part of the course just talking about the global refugee crisis, some of the places you wouldn't even guess where refugees are. Pakistan used to be, up until this year, the country that took in the most refugees. Now, this year, it's Turkey with 2.7 million Turkish refugees. There are 60 million people who've been forced from their homes. That was in 2014. I'm sure there's more now. 40 million of them are displaced within their countries. They can't get out, and 20 million have been able to escape their countries, war, persecution, and take a journey that is extremely perilous. So I talk about the global refugee crisis, what I call the 3 lives of a refugee. Like a cat has to have 9 lives, a refugee has to have at least 3 to survive the conflict and violence in their country that they want to escape from. A second life to survive life in the refugee camps or just outside the refugee camps. About 85% of all refugees are not in the camps. But if you are a refugee in the camps, you spend, now the UN says, 18 plus years as a refugee. It's very, very difficult to move on from that status. I look at women, the abuse that they face, and then the third life that they have to get to a country which will accept them as a refugee and grant them asylum. So the life that they sometimes lose in trying to get to a country where they can actually find refuge. I talk about why refugees don't fly, and why they have to take this perilous journey. And then we will spend some time talking about the causes of the refugee crisis: climate change, drought, emergencies, floods, and most importantly, ethnic and religious conflict. Talk about theories. What what will cause these conflicts to take place, case study of Syria, and then finally we will end on a positive note talking about solutions to the refugee crisis. So hope to see some of you there. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Bev.